5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Cast. And I'm your host, Thinh.
I'm your host and your best friend, Alan.
Wow. This marks episode 10, dude.
That's crazy. 10 episodes, double digits.
Oh my God.
So someone was asking me recently about the podcast, and they were like, what is it about? And I was like, it's not really about anything. It's really more like a conversation show, Mm-hmm. But then I thought about it, and I thought about all our recent episodes and stuff, and I realized we talk about relationships a lot.
Yeah, I think we found a niche conversation topic to talk about.
It is relationships, but it's also we talk a lot about mental wellness, right? Mm-hmm. We're always talking about positive thinking, positive changing the way we think, changing the way we act, and reflecting
positive,
on
attitude and a greater outlook of things.
It's kind of funny. We were I was like, it's not really about anything except relationships, I guess, and mental wellness, I guess.
And I guess it's another way for people to know what's really going on in our lives, because when you hang out with people, you only see the surface level. But I feel on here they tend to find more about us, on the deeper level.
And we're much more we're very honest on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. I feel we don't hold back too much. We don't hold back a lot here.
There's no holding back here.
Because, I don't know, when you're with the right people, you just feel more comfortable to talk about anything.
Yeah, for sure.
I was on the way here. That pothole is still fucking there.
But this time you're never again.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because they actually have a little sign that that it's there now.
But yeah, that sign gets knocked over all the time.
And what's even more dangerous, it's filled. Even though how deep it is filled with rainwater, so it looks like it's flat. There's it's almost that there. It's just a reflection off the ground. The whole sidetrack there, going back. Yeah, I mean, talking to our friends, I asked them what do you guys like about our podcast so much? And I'm very curious because they all listen to it, and a lot of them listen to almost every episode so far too, and they're just telling me it's nice to see what you guys are going through. It's just we don't see each other on a daily basis that much because everyone's so intertwined with their own lives, but they're able to listen on their commute or when they have spare time to just watch our video or listen to our podcast and oh wow, I didn't know this much about Thinh and Alan, and they feel personally connected to us.
Yeah. I was talking to Alan Lee yesterday. And he was he did the same thing your nephews did. He came up to me. He was like, I feel like I really know you now. I was like, wow. But I don't know anything about you.
I know.
Gotta get him on the podcast now too.
I know. We just start reeling people in, get them to talk about themselves, interview them. It's crazy because this hasn't been a great thing that we've done so far. Up until now. It's it's still going on.
I feel like I'm learning a lot about our friends.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I didn't think I would, get to know that much well about them.
That much more.
Yeah, that much more. There you
feel
go.
like you knew them already.
Yeah. But then knowing what's really going on in their minds, it's nice.
What did you have to talk about? You said you're writing stuff down.
Yeah. It's actually pretty weird. My mind, like I said before, my mind likes to put myself in situations. I always wonder how I feel about the situation, what I would do. And I guess recently, within the past 2 weeks, I've had a dream where my dad was passed away. And I was just thinking shit. It's something that you never prepare about, But I had a dream, and my dream, I'm like, fuck, what do I do now? And it just kind of made me think back overall, and what do I have to do to survive? Because now I feel now that my dad's not around, maybe I have to start paying the bills for the house, picking up a lot of slack or not slack, but a lot of the work that he's been doing, and
this was all you're thinking about after you had that dream.
This is all I think about when I was in the dream.
Oh, in the dream.
And as well, I was also thinking about like more the emotional aspect. Like, holy shit, I feel like, life, like I said, like last time, life is too short. Don't take anything for granted. And I don't know, it's just like appreciate your parents. While they're still here.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just very, very eye opening. I feel like I thought about it for a little while. I was like, shit, my dad's a smoker. So like, it's obviously he's doing something that's not really good for his health. So it's kind of decreasing his lifespan a little bit. And it's kind of a little more realistic that like he's not going to be around. Like at one point, he's not going to be around anymore. So you just got to take that into consideration and like, don't ever skip the chance to tell your parents that you love them. Give them a hug, They do a lot. He does a lot for me, and I just don't want him to think that I don't notice it.
Or like appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the relationship that I have with my dad, it's kind of like we don't exchange a lot of words, but I know that deep down he loves me and I love him, and we don't need to say it to each other, but we just know it,
There's this like meme where it's like we all live the same life, and it's just like a lot of the things that we go through, like everyone goes through the same thing almost. Is like the funny example was like your dad and the dog that he said he didn't want, and it's just like
yeah, dude.
Especially in Asian like families, it's like the dad who like they don't say I love you, but they show it in like cooking you food or something like that, like that meme. It's like we all live the same life.
Oh dang.
Recently I've been thinking about sort of the same thing, like my time and like the things I take for granted. And I was like, and I don't want to take time itself for granted, like I only have this much time, so I just want to spend it doing things I want, or spending it with spending the time with people that I want to spend it with.
Mm-hmm. You just got to make the best of it,
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in. Because, I guess the way we see it is like when we're growing up, our parents are more so like super mom, super dad, Superman, Superwoman. Mm-hmm. They like everything they do is what we see as right and wrong. Their behaviors kind of shape who we are today.
For sure.
And then like, I don't know, a lot of their traditions or things they do every day, we take into ourselves. But then now that we grow older, we pick and choose the traits, like what's right, what they do is right. And then we learn from ourselves, like what we know is right and wrong now. And then.
Yeah. And then it's the scariest moments are when you realize that your parents are also human, mm-hmm. and then they're not Superman, they're not Superwoman. So when you start to like realize that, then you're like, wow, like they also make mistakes. They also won't live forever. And it's just like all these things you realize as you're growing up.
It also makes the question like, what am I going to bring to my kid?
Yeah.
It's like passing down the wagon kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you don't even realize it, but like a lot of things that you do come from your parents, Mm-hmm. You don't even realize that you're like so ingrained and so like internalized.
You just think it's normal,
Mm-hmm.
What your parents do, like what your parents normally do is what you think is normal. And then when you become exposed to other people's
you go to other people's houses, you're like, yeah. Wait, what?
You eat dinner at 5? I eat dinner at 9 at my house. But yeah, it's like you just find out like, oh wow, you start to pick up you get exposed to all these different things that you just kind of realize, oh man, my life is just kind of weird, huh?
Do you have any specific examples of like things that you are gonna pass on, like you're gonna keep from your parents, and what some other things that you're not gonna keep from your parents?
That's a good question. I don't know. Not anything specific, more so. Anything that comes to mind right now, but if I have like more time to think about it, then I could probably come up with something. I feel like right now I wouldn't be so hard on my kid about, how much in the Asian culture, they just want you to do something that makes the most money or something that, something they can be proud of, something like a medical professional field, right, like, or something,
Like something quote unquote successful.
Yes. Exactly. But like, I feel like for my kid, knowing that pressure was put on me, I don't want that to be on my kid, growing up. And it was just very hard because my dad didn't have a at some point had like a very bad relationship with my two older brothers. So then I feel like the torch was passed down to me, and I was kind of like the golden child where they kind of looked for me as like make sure, you know, to be the successful one.
Right.
My two older brothers were at one point, they were kicked out of the house. It was just me and my younger brother, and like they looked to me to make sure I was the one who was able to be successful in their own terms.
You're definitely not gonna pass on that. Like you're gonna try to avoid that kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
I mean, it's hard though because everyone's definition of success is so different. You know, you can you can be successful in so many different ways.
I just want my kid to be happy.
Yeah,
you know,
like being happy is a form of success. Like you did it.
Yeah.
That's a successful thing. You know,
that's my
because not
form of
everyone
success.
can be happy. If you can do that, you're successful in that. It's hard to like put that into concrete terms, you know, success.
Yeah. It's a very vague concept. But like,
I mean, we know like that success for them was financial security. That's success for them. But I feel like we've been allowed so many opportunities from them to define success in our own ways. So I'm going to keep passing on like pay it forward, basically. Like I've been given opportunities to make my own success or to define success in my own way. I'm going to give that to my kid, and hopefully he'll keep doing that. You know,
I wonder what problems my kid will have to ever come to when it comes to me. You know,
they're going to be like, we don't have enough TikTok followers. Like, oh shit!
It's like, damn it,
Can't relate, bro.
You can follow people on TikTok.
I don't know. That's how detached I am. I have no idea.
Same, dude. I don't even. I've never been on TikTok, but I just know it's like short. Like,
It's the most like little kid thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Is it? Oh,
It just
man.
feels very like teenagery. Like imagine Vine, but like better.
really? Because I thought Vine was hilarious.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now I'm interested in TikTok now. Because people had like really funny skits on Vine. So.
I mean, it's basically like the new Vine, but better, in my opinion.
Is it like you have like a base video and then you can do your own video that interacts with that video?
That's part of it. You can make your own videos like whole cloth if you want to, like just make skits and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah. But that's about as far like the extent of my knowledge of TikTok. I just know the kids love it, and it's on Twitter like a lot.
Do you ever just like wonder if you make a good dad?
Yeah, I do think about that sometimes. I feel like I would make a good dad.
I think you would too. You want to be my dad? Just kidding. Daddy.
Because I feel like I can be strict, but I also feel like I have a lot of capacity for love, and I value like creativity. I value like going your own path. You know, that's like a big part of my life. It's just like figuring out like my own way. I feel like I would cultivate that in my kids.
That's very important though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's very important for, at least for me as well, it's kind of like finding out who I am and just being able to freely be who I am without everyone else, you know, telling me who I should be.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially in Asian families, there's a lot of pressure from your parents, like to be a certain way, to follow their traditions, to be rich, basically. Be smart, be rich. You have to study hard, play instruments or whatever. You know, there's all these stereotypes, but they're stereotypes like that have a grain of truth in them. I don't want to do that for my kid. I don't want I don't want any like weird expectations, or like I want realistic expectations. You know,
Like what? What's the real expectation? Would you say?
like I don't need them to be like the best in class. I don't need them to play a billion instruments. I just want them to be happy and make friends.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's a big thing though, like because you just don't want them to feel alone, isolated, down about themselves,
Yeah.
you know.
And of course all parents want their kids to be like to do well in school or like to be successful. I feel like there's a difference between wanting them to be successful and then putting so many like expectations on their shoulders and like the weight of all of that, you know?
It's hard because sometimes I see other families. I was like, man, it's hard. Like, why can't my family be like that? You know? I feel like I come from like a somewhat dysfunctional family.
Like
where,
complicated.
Yeah, complicated. There you go. I wouldn't say dysfunctional because my parents are doing their best for us. It's just
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated. So, I mean, they're not like kicking us to the curb. It's just that, like, I think for my older brothers and my dad, there was just a lot of different interpretations of what they wanted.
Right. There's like different expectations from each other. But I feel like you turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I think I've turned out okay.
But do you feel like you had to try to be that way, or you like there was that pressure to be the golden child, as you said? You're like, all right, I have to turn out good because like it's expected of me, and you're like that was like something you were aiming for, or was it just like?
I felt like that was more secondary to what I am now. Like my primary goal is like I wanted to be able to support myself, and like I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew the steps to get there.
And then it's just a byproduct that you're like.
Yeah, it wasn't really a lot of byproduct. Because initially I wanted to go to Temple for business. My dad didn't really like that. He wanted me to go for pharmacy because he's in like the business aspect. He owns a grocery store, and he knew what it was like, how the business side of the world is like, where he doesn't want me to like be stressed. He didn't want me to worry about my, if my business were to go down under, I would be shit out of luck or something, or I don't know. He's very conventional thinking about business, and he just like from his own world or his own defined concept of business, he didn't want me to go through what he went through.
Right.
And like he wanted me to have something that was easier, that made a lot of money, that was not as stressful, the life that he's living when he worked.
Thought pharmacy was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
He literally thought being a pharmacist
Yeah.
was the best route for me because it made a lot of money. That it was very apparently less stressful because in his mind being a pharmacist was just like being behind a counter counting bills all day and they going home to work, and literally it was not that. So I was like, but he convinced me, because really I did want to go for business, but I didn't know what specific area in business that I want to go to. So he kind of brought my uncle to my house, and my dad and my uncle talked me out of like going out of business and going to Temple for pharmacy.
So you were actually Temple Pharmacy when you started?
Yeah, I was pre-pharmacy when I first started.
Oh, so you had to take all the
science courses. Yeah. Which was like a whole like 180 turn from like what I took a lot of business classes in high school for. So I was like, shit. And you can tell like throughout the years, like I wasn't really doing too well in these classes. Maybe because I wasn't, and then I found out I really wasn't interested in doing pharmacy.
It your heart wasn't in it, and you're not going to try hard in a class that you don't care about.
Yeah. So I felt like that reflected in my grades a lot, and it just had to retake some courses because I didn't pass, and it just showed that like maybe pharmacy is not really not for me, dude. I felt like at that time I was persuaded into doing something that I didn't want to do, only for what my dad wanted me to do.
I mean, at least you got out.
Yeah.
I feel like a bunch of us got just convinced into going into some kind of medical field or pharmacy, or like you're just like, I mean, I guess so. And then we didn't have we were like, all right, we already invested like this much time, we might as well go through with it.
Yeah.
But you had the smarts to bail abandon ship.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of telltale signs. Like I've had people like who are pharmacists like, don't do pharmacy. I'm like, oh what?
Actually, Ben and I were just talking about this yesterday. We talk about this a lot, actually. This idea, like, what if we just went into like something else? We're like, man, we should have went into like IT or ComSci, or like, I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I think I would rather do something else. For the most part, I have like, it drains me to interact with people and patients and stuff. Like, and it's, I have a lot of anxiety about like working with people. It's like, why did I pick a fucking job where I have to work with patients all the time?
What is it about it that makes you gives you anxiety about working?
It's just
people?
like because you have people's lives in your hands, you know what I mean?
True.
And
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, exactly. And then also like, I'm just not a very like social person. It just takes a lot of energy and work for me just to like get through the day. So I was just like, dang, I have to interact with like a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then I thought about like, let me be like super realistic. And like, what if I just imagine myself in a different job? And I realized that, I don't know, I think I might be like complaining about any job, you know.
That's true.
I would just be complaining about any field I go into. Mm-hmm. But I imagine, of course, I want to interact with people, but I just imagine like maybe something with like less human to human like interaction,
like emails.
Because interacting with people is fine up to a point, but then I feel like all I do is interact with people all day, mm-hmm. and that makes sense because I'm in the medical profession, you know.
It's just it's required of you to interact that much. Yeah.
So it's just something I've thought about a lot over the years. Like, maybe like I wonder how I would be in a different like less social job. Would I be like happy, or would I not be so tired all the time? Would I be like, I don't know. But then I really hate those like what if questions, because then there's nothing you can do about it at this point.
That's true. I actually had the opportunity to have like a desk job because when I worked at Temple, I worked in like the medical records department, or AKA HIM department, Health Information Management department. So basically, that was like I was like wondering if this was the job for me, because I was just sitting behind a desk. I had a computer job. Basically, I was doing like running Excel sheets and shit, and it's like minimal human to human interaction. Like like you just said. Then at first it was nice. It was not much stress. It was very easy. I just sit behind a computer for 8 hours a day and call it a day, you know. But I noticed as time went on, like,
was there like a lonely factor to it?
I wouldn't say lonely, but more so I got very complacent with my work. I literally would just go in,
like half-ass it.
I half-ass a lot of shit. I would even like up to the point if I knew my manager wasn't gonna be into that day, I would just like set up my phone on the side and like watch some, put on Netflix with the headset and like do my work, you know. And then like I'd be so distracted with just watching this Netflix that it wouldn't barely do my work.
Yeah.
And then also like I would start like to fall asleep in front of the computer because I wasn't moving, you know. Mm-hmm. I found out that I like to be moving when I work. I need to be doing like standing up, actively moving, be a little more stressed to keep myself awake. Right. Because if I get too comfortable in a position, then I'm just not gonna be productive.
Right. But there's jobs that like have minimal human interaction that also involve a lot of movement.
That's true.
I mean, it's all about finding like what works for you.
That's true. I think working at the grocery store, as much as I didn't like to go in, I felt like I was very good at the job with my parents' grocery store because I was really good at these small interactions with
like helping customers.
Yeah. And like, especially with those who are frequents, it's just kind of like a friendship, if anything, you know, like a nice acquaintance. There was a lot of moving around. So it actually helped me develop those kind of like small people skills. But going back to that desk job, I just gained a lot of weight because I wasn't moving as well. So sure. I don't know. Overall, I didn't like where I was, but I had it was a lot of good benefits too. Like I had an hour of lunch break.
Wow.
What paid lunch break? Wow. 1 hour paid lunch break. Yeah. It doesn't get better than that. Like I literally take the first 30 minutes eating lunch, and then the last 30 minutes I'll just take a nap and then just go back to work, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I just kind of found that out myself when I was working there. And I like to be moving. I like to be, in a way, interacting with people more, I guess.
Okay.
But if I could do it all over again, I'll probably go into comp sci.
I hear a lot of good things about it, and there's such a high demand for it, especially going into the future where computers are going to be more and more like integrated into our lives, and more integrated into businesses, into schools, and everywhere, you know? And there's always going to be a demand for technology related stuff from now on, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, like, you know, Google, Amazon, all these like tech apps
huge tech companies.
Yeah, tech companies are like making a huge breakthrough right now, and they're like soaring. It's like it's never ending.
I feel like I wish I had the foresight to jump on it back when I started college, because I feel like now the market is so saturated. Like there's so many like IT and comp sci people.
Right.
Because they were smart.
Yeah, they were smart enough to.
They thought ahead.
That was the biggest thing too. Going to college, I hated the fact that I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, come on! Like, I wish there was like a handbook that. Well, there is a kind of handbook. I guess I didn't take the time to go through it, but like it's so overwhelming to flip through those pages and you see all these job titles. But like, I don't know.
All the love to my guidance counselor. She was a really nice lady, but she was fucking useless. She was like, what are you into? And I was like, I've been goofing off for the past like 3 years. I have no idea. Like,
what am I into? I'm into anime.
Yeah, I was like,
video games.
I was like, I like drawing, like anime. And she's like, maybe art. And I was like, hell no.
Yeah, like I want to live in the future, you know.
I was smart enough to not go into art because I enjoyed it, but I knew it wasn't like something I wanted to do as a career.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I want to say a hobby, but it's something that you enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and you don't want to turn something you enjoy into career because then you probably later on down the road, you might get sick of it, end up hating what you enjoy doing.
Yeah. And even then I knew, like even back then I knew that internet friends who were like artists and stuff, and they were like, life is hard as an artist. You don't make that much money ever, you know,
Right.
unless you have to be super lucky to get into like Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or like onto actual shows, like cartoon shows. You have to be really good and really lucky and just know people. And I was like, that sounds too much.
Right. I feel like it's really good as a side job because you could be like a web developer and like design people's websites or make flyers on the side, advertising a little bit. Yeah.
There's so many things to have to fall into place.
I hate that. Like when you just have to depend on
Fate.
fate to take you where you want to be. This is rough.
I feel like this kind of connects to the idea of things we take for granted. Because when you're young, you feel like there's so much time, you know? Yeah, I just like figure it out later, or like I'll try this and switch. Now that we're a little bit older, it's just like maximize time, you know?
Right.
You gotta be the most efficient we possibly can. Versus back then, we're like meandering through life, like I don't know.
I'll just ride the wave wherever it takes me, you know?
Now it's like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I just want to be here, see this person, do this job, do this, you know, like there's no time for like, there's less time to goof around.
That's true. It sucks, dude. This is when you become an adult and it just...
I don't like
it.
I don't like it.
I've been thinking about this, like picking up like coding on the side or like some kind of like learning something else, a side skill that, you know, maybe at some point I guess
nursing.
Yeah, if it's like, you know, at one point I'm just like this nursing job just breaks me like mentally. I'm like, I need to go somewhere else. But
I mean, I was interested in that too.
You know, yeah, just like because I've
How
heard.
all right, hit us with the comments.
Yeah, give us some ideas of what we could do.
Or like,
you know.
send me a link to like a coding like program or like a coding class.
Because I know there's one nurse that used to work at the hospital that I worked at. He retired and became a salesman. I was like, holy shit, you could just do that?
You can just do that?
You can just do that? You have options?
Yeah.
So it just kind of brought the idea. I was like, maybe if this, you know, if any point, because I feel like in our lives right now, we can get tired of things really easily. You know,
Definitely.
that instant gratification kind of like that idea that if you're not being gratified with what you're doing, or you're not, you know, if your job is not making you happy, and
especially because if we're still relatively young, we still have a lot of life ahead.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you want to pivot, you can.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like, even if you're older, you can still pivot out, you know?
Yeah. It's all about putting in that extra work to being able to pivot yourself. But yeah, and some people get too comfortable with their own, you know, with their own career, and then like
some people just actually love their careers.
Yeah,
and that baffles me. You like your job, fucking nerd.
But yeah, that's what I think in the future. I'm like, you know, or if I don't feel like pivoting, then I'll just find a nursing job that isn't so stressful,
like nursing adjacent.
Yeah, something in the nursing field, but like because there's so many opportunities where I can go. You know,
that's what I was imagining for PT. I was like, there's a lot of things you can do with the PT degree that's not necessarily dealing with patients. There's like administrative stuff. There's business stuff, marketing stuff, and I was like, Yeah, that's something like I could see myself getting into, but then I have to like put in the work and the time before I even get there.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't have to be like, and like for example, like nursing has like ICU or like pediatrics, and then like different kinds of nursing, you know, like, and then there's like home care nursing, like a bunch of stuff you can go into. Similar for PT, you can go into like neuro patients or just focus on like ortho patients, sports, or kids or whatever.
Interesting.
But I don't just want to be fucking dealing with people.
Yeah. We're in a profession where we have to deal with people. Like, unless it's like administrative, like you said, like behind closed doors. It's the same people that you deal with, so it's not as stressful. And you already know the person, so it's kind of like you're not forcing yourself to re-meet someone again, or forcing yourself to make small convo with people you don't know. You know, patience.
Yeah. I feel like small talk is one of my weak points.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I meet someone for the first time, it is a little bit of a struggle because it's hard to find like, even we find common ground, it's just hard to like, you can only talk about it for so much, you know? I know we were talking about this the other week where you meet like your friend's boyfriend for the first time and it's like, what do dudes even talk about? Cars, sports, and I was like, those are the two things I have no fucking idea about.
You're trying to find common ground, and like you're trying to like in a way find like you're trying to reel them in something that can be very exciting, but something relatable for both of you too.
It's like, did you see the game last night? You're like, which game? You're like, I don't know.
Any game, dude. Just tell me something, bro. Let me pretend like I am interested, but like I don't know. It's hard. Yeah. Because it's like you're just not that comfortable with them yet. Up until the point where you are, then it's great. But like it's that initial like hump of meeting a person where, come on, give me something where we can like be stupid about, you know, where I don't care if I can make dumb comments.
I find that like I'm very social when I have a lot to say about a specific, when we get kind of deep, like sometimes I get really drunk, I can like talk to anyone and then it's not small talk either. We get into like all this weird stuff and deep stuff all of a sudden, you know? And I feel like that's where I thrive.
Yeah, dude.
That's the content that I have the most to say about.
Yeah, you do. I could tell. That's where I'm like struggling. I wish I had more insight. I mean, I think I do have some insight, but like I wish it was more. I don't know.
I feel like you have pretty good insight. It's enough for 10 episodes of a podcast.
Yeah. But it's so hard for me to bring the insight while I'm on the podcast. But like outside the podcast, I could just go on.
You're just driving home and you're like, damn, I should have said this.
Yeah, dude. I just like it doesn't come to my mind because at least like a 10% of my brain is like, I'm on a podcast. I wish that 10% would be used for insight, you know?
I mean, I feel like especially when we're off the record, we do have a lot of like great stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just like
it just comes so naturally, and we're just talking, and then all of a sudden we're like, wow, that was really insightful.
Yeah, that was just like that would have been a great episode, but we don't have anything on to record it, you know? If only like we you know what we should do? We should get like a camera crew or something, or like someone with a boom mic just following us around and just like all the time, like a reality
show.
Yeah, like a reality TV show where we just like we get used to that person being there to the point that like we just like a hidden camera that just follows us around, or like a boom mic that just records our conversation.
Yeah,
and like we don't have to, if we don't feel that pressure because it's just there, you know. And we will look back and like, oh shit, we did say that. Oh, that was some good content, and we have it. You know.
Tiffany was like, you guys should get an editor. We were like, I don't know. It's kind of hard because I don't know if they would be able to like edit it in the way that like I want to convey it, a certain idea.
And definitely like the tone that we want to.
Yeah. What if they like make me sound stupid, you know?
Yeah, like
I don't know. You're fired. It sucks.
They like cut out like a word from every like other like sentence and make you say like
I am Hey, dumb bitch.
Is there anything that you want to talk about?
I don't know.
How was your experience during the cabin trip?
So I know we were saying like we didn't want to talk about like stuff that would incriminate us, but I do really want to talk about my acid trip.
Okay.
Because I felt like, so I've done it one time before at Moonrise, and that time was still like, it was enjoyable, but I feel like there's too much going on. Like there's the festival where there's like music, people, crowds, like everything, like too many things going on. I didn't even get that many visuals, because there's just so many like things happening. I couldn't focus on anything.
All right.
Even though it was fun, I feel like I didn't get to really like enjoy it. Especially now that I tried it a second time, I saw the difference and I was like, wow, I definitely did not like, that was a way inferior like experience for me compared to just the cabin trip. Because I felt like I could control that experience way more. Mm-hmm. So at the cabin, it was like, if I was inside and then there's like a lot going on. There's a lot of like stimulus and like lights and people moving around, talking, like they're like chopping food and stuff.
All right.
And it was like really, really nice. But if I started to get overwhelmed, I could just step outside.
All right.
Sit next to the fire where it was like calm. The moon's shining up like overhead. The stars are twinkling. And I could just, once I got calmed down and I was like, all right, I want to be like brought back up again. I would just walk back inside. And it was just such a great experience for me because it was my experience, is what I wanted when I wanted. Versus Moonrise, it was just like people, music,
yeah.
boom, boom,
You can't
boom.
escape it because it's all around you.
So I had a much better experience, especially because since then, I feel like I've gotten much better at managing my anxiety. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten much better at stopping myself from spiraling, like spiraling like with these crazy thoughts or like intrusive thoughts, like you're worthless and like no one loves you and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Or like he thinks you're stupid or something like that.
Right.
But I've gotten much better at like when especially at the cabin, I was like starting to feel it. And I was like, okay, like do your like usual techniques that you usually do. And I was like, okay, bring myself back into like the happy euphoria.
Happy yeah. Wow, you did that yourself?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wait, what technique is this, by the way? I want to learn.
So I've just gotten really good at like, I know I've talked about it in the previous podcast, but like I've been trying to think about things in a different way, whenever that trick where it's like, you wouldn't say this about a friend, that kind of technique, like when you're like kind of hating on yourself, mm-hmm. you just stop and be like, would you say this to someone like, would you say this to a friend? Mm. Like, you're an idiot. You're like, no one loves you. Why would you say this? Why do you do this? And mm-hmm. then you would be like, you stop yourself, take a step back and say, would you say this to a friend? And then you would be like, what? No, of course not. Like, why would I ever? And then you're like, okay, I shouldn't say that to myself if I'm not going to say that to like,
someone else. Right.
It's just taking yourself and almost like externalizing yourself, almost like
astral projecting yourself.
Like almost viewing like yourself as another person. You just look at them and you say, you would never look someone in the eye and be like, you're garbage, you're a piece of shit. You're like, and that'd be like really mean, right? Why are you so mean to? So that's just like one. Why are you being like a dick? So this is one of the techniques that I've been trying. It's helped. Another thing is like just trying to think about things, like making small changes. Like instead of thinking about it one way, I'll just make a slight change. I won't try to like push it down or get rid of the thought. It was just, okay, instead of thinking about, say, like you're being annoying to whoever, just be like, all right, instead of thinking that, you just think like, I'm just talking to a friend,
Right.
Just whether or not there's like, I'm annoying them or not, I just take that out of it. Just, I am talking to a friend.
Take that negative aspect out of it and just take what you really know what is going on.
Right. And
like,
then
you just talk to your friend.
Or like, I'm not annoying them, but like I shouldn't put words into their mouth, So then it's like, all right, I'm trying to like just change my thinking about that a little bit. Like why are you speaking for them? why are you speaking for your friend? You don't know if they're like annoyed or not.
Right.
Like whether or not they are, you shouldn't say it for them. So I was
Right.
like, all right, let me just change that thinking a little bit too. And that helped a lot. So when I was on the trip, it was just like, she's like, she like, they think you're stupid. And you're like, well, I'm not going to like, I might be stupid. I'm just not going to put those words into their mouths for them.
Right. Yeah. You're not
If
gonna,
I don't hear from them, that's like,
if you don't actually hear from them, then it's not real.
Yeah. So it's all these like little small changes. Like I'm not trying to like, all right, change it all at once, make huge changes to my thinking and like perspective. It's just, all right, this is bothering me. I will just do something a little bit different next time too. And then next time I'll do a little bit something a little different.
Change the mindset a little bit too. And yeah, it is. I see where you're coming from, because it's kind of like you're taking out that you're the one that's pretty much putting yourself down. They're not even doing anything. They're just being themselves. And,
exactly.
Being your friend. And you're just thinking to yourself, am I doing too much where I'm just like,
it's me realizing that a lot of the things that are happening are inside and not outside. And that helped me a ton, like, okay, nobody actually hates you. You're not going to be alone forever. That's just your head telling you or getting to you. And it's just about realizing that and maneuvering around it, or like just managing it, because you can't get rid of it. You just gotta manage it.
Wow.
I mean, not to say you can't get rid of it. This is how I'm dealing with it. It's working for me.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's a nice way to put it. Like, I like how you thoroughly explain that thought process and how you, change the way you think there, But the reason why I laughed a lot earlier, because you're like, you have to like you have to make that mental image of yourself in front of you, and like, would you say these things to yourself? And I'll just think to myself the whole time of not the whole time, but that one part of the cabin trip where I just had that picture of myself, and
that's why I was like. That's why I was like, why are you hating Thinh?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, dude, do you see this guy?
I was like, yeah, but he's a human too. Stop it. Hey, that's my friend. That's my friend.
But yeah, that was that. Yeah. I was just making fun of myself. I don't know. It just, for me, if I'm able to make fun of myself, it's a lot easier for me to realize, it just belittles my problems,
Okay. And it also like is a way to like show how far you've come. You're like, that's the old me. This is like the new me sort of thing. Yeah. Like, look at that. I'm way like, I'm so far removed from that place. I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
I understand. I get it.
Yeah. That was really good. And honestly, being able to verbalize it too, putting out, like, being able to say it, like, wow. This so everyone knows, for context, I was showing everyone a picture of me back in August.
I'm gonna throw the picture up in post. Just like edit it in.
Go ahead. I don't know. I had a picture of myself back in August where I was 169 pounds, and it showed. 69. Like my face was so round. There was like no jawline. My face was basically I was basically a walking thumb with sunglasses and a hat. I was just making fun of myself, and then I had like a huge gut that was showing. And I remember at the time I was like doing this like, these silly poses, thinking I was like the shit. But then when I saw that picture, I was like, oh, that is not how I thought I would turn out to be.
There's like a little spare tire going on.
Yeah,
a little like no jawline.
Exactly. I was like, oh, this has got to stop. That's why I took the turn for the better, and I started working on myself, because at that time I felt confident in myself.
Okay. Even back then you were confident.
Yeah, even back then I was confident in myself. I didn't have a lot of doubt in myself, but like it didn't show physically.
Looking back, you're like, why was I so full of myself? Look how crappy I was.
Exactly. So what other part of that trip did you really like?
I got the visuals way more this time. There was a painting of a bull or a cow or something in the dining area, like where the dining table was. I just sat there and I stared at that cow for like what felt like forever. I felt like as I was sitting there, like the colors were like moving around and stuff, and then I just saw this cow like go through his whole life, like his lifetime. He like was a young cow, then he grew into like this old, like middle, like the.
He was a calf at one point.
Yeah, and then he turned into like the cow in the painting. And then he grew into like an old cow, and then he passed away like peacefully in like a huge pasture. And I was like, oh wow, like that's amazing. And then every time I would like go away and walk back to that painting, I would see it all over again. I was like, wow, I've seen this cow's life like 3 times over, and it's amazing.
You got like a connectional feeling with the cow, which is a painting.
I was like, wow, I feel like I know this cow.
That's amazing. That's like awesome feeling that you get. I also came back to that same painting too. I was like, I didn't get that emotional connection, but I was very drawn in about how beautiful like the painting was. It came to like life pretty much.
Yeah, know? For a second I was like, damn, am I a vegetarian now? Like, nah. But for a second I was like, wow, like I really appreciate like cows dying for us, you know?
Yeah.
Itadakimasu.
Itadakimasu. Oh man, that was such a great trip, you know? And I like that you were able to like, we had 2 totally different environments that we could easily go in and out of. And
it was like, you want to just be like contemplative and just think and like talk, go outside, sit by the fire, and you want to dance and like move around, just watch people. Mm-hmm. You go back inside.
Yeah. It's like literally the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Right next to each other. And I think what's awesome is that we got to talk out with, you know, with our peers, our friends, like any kind of like on a deeper level, podcast like level, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like we got to like kind of see where people came from and how they're feeling about certain situations. And it was nice to hear and see or connect.
Yeah. And acid made me really appreciate smaller moments, like really little moments where like that was just like quiet, like even when we're not talking, it's just like being next to your friends and being next to like people that you really care about. It's just like these small moments that you really made me appreciate it while I was like my mind was like open, you know? And I was like, wow, this is what I want. Just like friends close, like, and just like being near people that I care about.
That was just such joy. That was a really joyous time. There was like no drama, you know? That's like the best thing. Everyone was just there doing their own thing and having a great time together.
Vibing.
We're vibing. It was crazy because it was just one night, but it felt like forever. I was like, dude, I'm living this moment. I remember we kept going back to the time. It was like, dude, what time is it? It's 3? Holy shit.
It's only been 1 hour?
Yeah, it's 1 hour since the last time. It felt like it was 5 hours.
I've lived 4 years with this cow.
There's four lifetimes with this cow. I seen him going from a calf to a whole adult.
It was good. I feel like we got to like talk to everyone, but there's parts of me where I wish like I talked to everyone, you know?
Yeah.
I got to talk to like a couple of people, but I wish I just like had a chance to sit down and like talk to each individual person in that environment.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they would have like? Did you want to do like one-on-one with them, or
no,
more
just like a conversation with like around the fire? Everyone's out there and we just talk, you know.
Right.
Michael tried. He was like, we were going around and like talking about our favorite memories from like
undergrad.
Yeah.
that was actually really nice though, because it kind of brought us back. Who the fuck is calling us right now? Who's calling your house? You know what? I was very surprised you even have a house phone at this time. At this time of the era. Yeah, this era.
Yeah, we were just like reminiscing about the old days and stuff. That was funny. Yeah, we were just like going back to our old memories and stuff.
Yeah.
Even stuff like we like haven't thought about in years, or like stuff we like totally repressed.
More so me. Specifically me repressed memories. Oh my God.
You're like, what?
You're like, wait, that happened? It's like, yeah, dude. I was like, I have no recollection of this. That part of me is dead. It is funny how we all came together and became friends at some point, even though there were some people that were in between that connected us and like that weren't there, but we still grew from that. You know, it's funny.
Right. Basically, Florence brought me in, and then like I met everyone. You know.
Yeah, and then like Tiffany brought me in. I met everyone, and then I brought Hip Tom, and I met everyone, and I was on Shijin, and I forget how Shijin came in. I remember I met Shijin before, but I just never really like.
Yeah. So my memory of Shijin, it's hard to remember because it was always like my sister was like, okay, we're just gonna wait for Shijin to pick us up, you know, because he lives. I was like, who's that? And then eventually it became like, oh, okay, I'm already in the city. Shijin's gonna just pick you up, so he would just swing by and just get me. And it's just me and him, or like sometimes it would be me, Fung, and him, you know, in the car. And I was like I don't know this guy at all. He's just like picking me up. He's like, this is nice. I don't know this guy at all. He's just picking me up. And then eventually we just like talk in the car, of course, and like talk about like whatever. And here we are.
Yeah, it's just funny how the way things work out. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Like, it's taking a step back at how we all came from like different areas, but we're all still hanging out from like college years.
There's like a lot of overlapping circles. Like,
yeah,
like I knew Alan from before, and then I knew like Tiffany from before, and you know, like different circles. And now we're just like a huge like Venn diagram.
Yeah,
like it's.
You know, I probably would never have thought about like that if I wasn't on that trip.
Because you look into the cabin and it's just like 10 of us, and you're like, how did the 10 of us become friends, and how did we get to this moment right now?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I'm just like nostalgic because I feel like that day will probably go down as like one of our most memorable days.
The cabin.
Yeah. We had a great time. At least I did.
I did.
I had a great time, dude.
I had a good time, and I really hope that everyone else did too.
Yeah. I hope no one was like going through like a hard thing or like, you know. I didn't seem like it though. What is your favorite thing about the acid trip?
I think my favorite part was like my inhibitions were like lowered a lot.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like I've gotten on, this is a direction I've already been heading, where I'm not thinking too hard about too many things. I'm just doing things that make me happy, you know? I'm going towards joy generating stuff a lot more.
Mm. Did you have any like anxiety or concerns before you took it?
No.
Oh, that's
surprisingly.
Good. Yeah, I was like, wow.
I was just very eager to because the way you talked about it was very exciting, and you talked about how your perspective changes, you open your mind up, and you just think about things differently. And I was like, that's what I'm all about right now, you know,
yeah.
thinking differently, you know. So I was really eager to get into it, and it just like pretty much just like what's the word? Expanded on that, you know. I was already in an open place, and then it just opened me up a little bit more.
Made your bubble even bigger.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So all my inhibitions were lowered, right? And I was just like, I just want to like experience everything in front of me, you know. I'm not worried about like what this means or what my like or like what it looks like. I'm just doing things that make me feel happy towards those joy generating activities and like thoughts and stuff.
That's pretty much how it was for me too. I think the first time was the hardest time for me. Where I really like, I guess I was really put front with my issues, but then I was able to overcome them, and then like I feel so free from it. Like the ball and chain is loose, it's broken. The shackles are
like the weight was lifted, right?
Yeah, I'm unchained.
Genie, I wish you were free.
Yeah, I don't know. And like every trip after that, since then, it's been a great experience.
Even though it was the hardest, do you feel like it was the best one because you got like so much
yes,
relieved and like so much figured out?
I would say it was probably the best one because I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know how you explain it. It opened my eyes, you know, and everything from there was a bonus. But that like being able to overcome the biggest obstacle in your life and mentally, it's like the best feeling ever. It's kind of like, oh man, it's like gasping, like getting that first grasp of air.
Yeah.
After being underwater for so long, and then every breath after that is just kind of like, whew, you know.
Yeah. For me, it was like when you explained like how much it helped you, I was like, I need that. But in the time between then and actually doing it, I feel like I just figured out all these ways to help myself. And I feel like the acid just skyrocketed me to like even a better place, you know?
Took you to the moon.
Yeah. I was like I felt like I was like weighed down on earth, and then I was finally like floating, and then the acid like pulled me up into the sky.
Pretty much give you that levitation powers. Well, that's nice. I think it's so like therapeutic in a way. It really is.
I feel like you have to be open to it. You can't go into it like afraid of what you'll find, and you can't go into it like. I mean, you can be nervous because it is a scary like process, a scary experience the first time because it can be overwhelming. Like that's how I felt at Moonrise. It was pretty overwhelming, but you have to be open to it, open to growing, like figuring out like what's wrong, or if there is something wrong, you know. And the idea is like it's not giving up or so to speak, or like giving in. It's about knowing that there's some things you can't control and you just have to like feel them and like deal with them, you know?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but it's just making you come in terms of what's real.
Yeah.
You know, there are things outside of your control, and it's just learning to being able to acknowledge and accept that
and control the things that you can control.
Yeah.
Right? Like
just make the best of it.
I was like, man, I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm going to step outside, you know? And I'm like, wow, I'm feeling down. I got to go back to where all the people are and like get myself pumped up, you know? So I feel like if you're going to try it, you got to do it I would say try it first in a controlled space, like somewhere with people you trust and like with like a small group. And then maybe after that, see how you feel, see how it goes. And then in the future, then you can try it at like big festivals and stuff. I definitely do not recommend trying it at a festival for the first time.
That's what I've been trying to tell people. I was like, I really recommend you do this in like a small environment with the people that you love and trust, and like you can be willing to be open to, you know, have an open mind about it. I don't know. It's not something I would recommend to everyone. Like, you know, it's something that you have to be ready for. And like, if you know that you're in a good place in your life, then by all means, if anything, it's gonna help you. Like, if you know you're in a better, like, good place in your life and you're ready to take it, it's only gonna be a positive from there, you know?
And I would say you don't have to be in a great place to do it, to try it. I would say you just have to be in a place where you're ready to face things that you might be putting down, or face things that are like troubling you, you know? Or like, even if you don't realize, like, because some stuff you don't even know you're holding on to, just be ready for like things to come up. I feel everything everything in my head. I just feel it, like, so there's nothing that I was hiding or holding down. It's just, I just always feel stuff. So it was just very easy to transition into like an acid trip. Because nothing came as a surprise. That's why. Because
you already knew everything.
Right. So if you think there's like stuff that's going to be surprising, then just be ready for it. But
wow,
for me, it was like
kind of cool that you kind of knew yourself inside and out already before even the acid trip kind of bring out anything from you, you know. Yeah. That's very interesting.
Because I am like, I've been holding stuff back for a long time. So in the last, like, I would say year and a half, I just gotten much better at like, all right, you feel these things, don't push it down, like face them, and then figure out ways to control it. Not get rid of it, control it.
Because if you're trying to get rid of it, you're gonna have a bad time.
For sure. You want to wrap this up?
Yeah. All right, guys. So as you all know, at the end of every podcast episode. Oh my God, I can't speak. At the end of every podcast episode, we do a segment called "What's Up with You." Alan, would you like to start?
I don't know. I would say recently I have been watching The Mandalorian.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I feel like that show is very good, and it seems so like calm and like there's like action and stuff. But when I watch it, it's just like very relaxing for some reason because I feel like there's not that much. Like the plot's not that complicated, you know.
Yeah,
so
it's very straightforward.
Yeah, so I don't have to like piece things together and like I'm like like what Westeros? Whose house is this? Who's that? Whose son is that guy? Who's that? You know.
There's not like a lot of hidden details from you.
There's like not that much because I feel like the world building is already done. I've watched all the Star Wars movies. So it's just a matter of just diving into this like little mini story. I enjoy it a lot. It makes me want to watch all the other TV shows because there's like all the cartoon shows I hear are very good. So like Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the animated series, and then Star Wars Rebels.
Well, I never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I think I gotta check them out. I guess they're all on Disney Plus. So.
Dang.
What's up with you, Thinh?
So recently, we had our previous guest Duong on the podcast, and he finally jump started his podcast, and it was like a couple of days ago, Wednesday. He had me on one of his episodes, and honestly, going in, I listened to his first episode before. It was more like an informational podcast for anyone who is, looking to, learn more about the medical field within a pharmacy, more pharmacy related. But he asked me to come on, and when he asked me to come on, I just got a little more anxiety. I was like, oh damn, I feel like
there's a little bit of pressure there, right? To like I know we were talking about how like we have anxiety about sounding not smart.
Yeah, exactly. that was one of my anxieties, dude. And he asked me to come on because he wanted my professional experience, talk from experience because I've been working as a nurse for less than a year since past July, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can, contribute a lot of information to your podcast, but he's a really good friend of mine, so I can't, I'm just gonna do it for him, I'm just gonna bite the bullet, go on, say what I can, and from what I understood, he has him on and two other pharmacists that are also part of the podcast, and in my mind, I'm like thinking, all right, I'm coming into this place. I'm going to be interviewed / interrogated by three pharmacists about what I do for work.
Oh, shit.
So I had a lot of anxiety coming into this. But honestly, when I got there, it was really nice. It was just me. It was just Dwee, his sister, Conley, and me. Conley is also a nurse. So I wasn't the only nurse. Cool. And then when I got there, I was like, oh, it's just the three of us? Dang, nice. And then he had like a lot of information like outlined already, and basically he just wanted to, I guess, my experience from it and like what I know about that.
Right, he just had like talking points, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty good talking points. That's that way to put it. But yeah, and honestly, it's like he said, like you know a lot more than you think you do. I was like, oh shit, he was right. It was kind of cool because I actually learned something new going on that podcast, just talking to the three of us. And honestly, it made me, if anything, a better nurse. Because
his premise was that it's going to be a conversational show just like ours.
Right.
But about the latest like pharmacy stuff and the latest literature or like just random topics, Mm-hmm. So it's going to be more conversational. I think the first episode gave you an impression that it was like much more structured and much more like info dump heavy and like you had to know stuff. But yeah, I think the original conceit was like it's just gonna be we're just gonna talk and like as professionals, you know, healthcare professionals.
Yeah, and it's pretty much it. Yeah, I got that. It really has changed the direction on the like when I came on from that first episode. It was like much different atmosphere. It wasn't as like an information hub, like you said. It's just more so like just speak from your experience and tell us what you know. And like he was like, if if you're not sure, it's okay to say you don't know about something because you don't know, you know. And then like if you're like. If there's something that you're not unsure of, or if you say it and you say you're not unsure, maybe someone in the comments can correct it. Right. But it's not a big problem, not a big deal, you know?
It is really exciting because he's like kicking this off, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like he's getting more and more comfortable, like speaking. Like they just like, the first episode is much more stiff and like, but then I feel like the second episode, they're like loosening up and it's just only going to like get better and better. And I feel like it's going to be a lot of good information.
Mm-hmm. It's only going to go up from here.
Damn, we're like, free advertisement.
Yeah, dude. Oh, his podcast, by the way, is called RX Unedited. It's really good content if you're involved in the medical field. But like, it's also
even if you're not, I feel like it's a good window into like the healthcare professional world. You know,
right?
From the angle of pharmacy.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know, even if you were just like vaguely curious, I feel like you can learn something. You know.
Because there's always something to know. You know, you always learn just by listening. I think because of that, I started listening to like nursing podcasts now.
I mean,
just to get myself like just to refresh like information I learned from nursing school that it's just nice to know, like look out for. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
But let's wrap this up. All right, let's take it off. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cast.
Thanks for listening.
And tune in for our next episode. Hopefully we'll get... Is it Florence?
Florence was supposed to be on, but it fell through.
Yeah, but we'll try to get her on next episode. So, All right, bye.